Hey y'all, I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Jen. I go by Dreaming in Multichrome here on YouTube and Instagram, and I have a very exciting collab video today. The Hersa and I have done a collab in the past. We did one at the end of last year, and we are back again. We tend to come back together every so often and do a collab. This one was the Hersa idea, and I jumped on board. It was so exciting. I'm going to get into the explanation of what it is, but I do want to mention that while filming, I had a major snafu. I will try to insert a blooper. So I'm going to change my filming setup because what I was doing is just not safe for single shadows, which are incredibly fragile. So in this video today, the Hersa, who I'm going to refer to as Hersa from now on, is a very good friend of mine, and she came up with the idea of what single shadow would you use as the star of your makeup look if we were traveling around the world. So we're calling this Traveling with Hersa and Jenn, and we have some prompts. So I'm going to go through the prompts and explain each one of them. And then I'm going to show you the shadows I picked while I explain them again. And then at the end, I'm going to come back and I'm going to make some guesses as to what Hersa picked. Not so much the name of the single shadow, but more the vibe of it. And then we'll close this video out. So if this is something that interests you, if you want to talk about single shadows and having some fun with single shadows, then stick around. So again, just to explain, this is not necessarily all the shadows that we would use if we were going to these locations. It's more of what the star of our eyeshadow look would be. So for example, if we were going to a night on a rooftop in Miami, not necessarily all of the mattes or what the palette would look like, but what would our star shimmer be? What would it look like? So here are some of our prompts. A rooftop night in Miami, a ballet show at the Sydney Opera House, a Broadway play in New York City, a beach day in Kuta, Bali, a safari in the Serengeti, a ball in Vienna, a carnivale day in Rio de Janeiro, a techno night in Berlin, a cherry blossom viewing day in Kyoto, and a New Year's Eve party in Dubai. So we thought that this was a really fun way to showcase our single shadows and just talk about traveling, what we would do, what kind of looks we would create, and I just thought it was a really fun idea. So this is Editing Jen here. I just want to take a moment while I'm showing these beautiful shadows and explain that when I first started filming this, I was coming down with a really wicked cold. I didn't feel the best. As I was editing this, I honestly was not super happy with the footage, so I have refilmed this a few times. I am still not 100%, but I wanted to get this video out. I wanted to make sure that I did right by my collab partner, and so I'm not going to get on camera today. I'm actually not wearing makeup today, but I did want to film the video and I wanted to go through these beautiful single shadows as well as talk about where Hersa and I would be traveling and what we would be wearing. And I also wanted to just take a moment to encourage all of you to partake in this tag with us. Pick a shade and a location, create a look, or highlight a single shadow and let us know what you would use and where and why. I think it's such a fun idea and I cannot wait to do this again. So first up would be a rooftop in Miami. So a night at a rooftop bar in Miami. I would certainly pick this spicy red. It is a red by Quicksand Cosmetics called Samurai Red. Quicksand is a small independently owned brand that sells small batch eyeshadows on Etsy, and she does a gorgeous job of coming up with shades. She has a lovely formula and describes all of her shadows pretty well so that you know if they're smooth or flaky and you can decide which shade is right for you. I just love the way Quicksand does business. And here is a swatch of Samurai Red. You can see it's a spicy, pretty opaque metallic. I swiped 2 swipes over bare skin in these swatches, and it is not very shifty, but it is beautiful. It's a very opaque, gorgeous, true red. Next up in our singles tag, Traveling the World with Hersa and Jenn. This is the shade that I would wear to a ballet show at the Sydney Opera House. And this was one of the shades that I knew right away I was going to pick. This is an older shade and it has been in the Divina collection for quite a while. I just love this shade. I think it is so beautiful. It was one of the first of its kind, and in the swatch you'll see it shifts from a pink to a gold in a very soft way. Here is the swatch of the shade Tucana in ring lighting on a bare hand. No primer, with 2 swipes, and it's just a beautiful, soft, very classy shade in my opinion. And here I'm playing with the lighting a little bit so that you can really see the shift of this shade. When you wear this on your eyes, the shift is incredibly noticeable. Although it's subtle, you can see it go from pink to yellow pretty easily. This is a shade that's fairly new to me, and the prompt for this shade is a Broadway play in New York City. As soon as we decided to do the prompt for a Broadway play in New York City, I knew I was going to pick a gold glam shadow. And so this is the shade Golden Girl, and it's by Shine by SD. They make my favorite formula at the moment for single eyeshadows. I say at the moment because I do change my mind quite often. However, the Shine by SD formula just lasts on my hooded aging eyelids pretty well. The shade Golden Girl in all of its glory. This really showcases how beautiful, dimensional, sparkly this goes from a tan, very wet looking base to intense golden sparkles. And in Riley's video where she received this in PR and was showcasing the swatches, she mentioned that this shadow was $5. You can get Shine by SD shades on sale, but this shadow for $5 is truly, truly phenomenal. Just a beautiful shade, and I thought perfect for a Broadway play in New York City. Next up in our indie singles tag would be a beach day in Kuta, Bali. This was a shadow that I also knew right away I was going to pick, and it is Sunbeam Citrine, another shadow by Quicksand Cosmetics. It is truly one of a kind, such a beautiful yellow, orange, beautiful shadow. This one is a little bit on the flakier side, you'll see in the swatch, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Here is the swatch of Sunbeam Citrine, and you can see that orange base coming through these intense yellow, orange, even slightly pink when you turn it. And I don't know if I'm capturing that on camera, but it is such a beautiful shadow. So what I wanted to say is even though the particles are large, when you swatch it, they really smooth out. And it does this on the eyes as well. I do use glitter glue or glitter primer under each shimmer shadow at all times. I am always wearing glitter glue. You can just assume that in any photo, video that I am taking, I never put a shimmer on my lid without a glitter glue, but this shadow is very special in my opinion. And this was one of the ones I really wanted to show in low light so that you could really see how sparkly this shadow is, how the depth of the undertone, it just gives you a good idea of how dimensional it is on the eyes. Again, just a complete winner by Quicksand. You'll see a theme in some of my selections. I picked another Quicksand cosmetics for a safari in the Serengeti. The reason why is I really wanted it to be colorful. When I thought about a safari in the Serengeti, the first thing I went to was like browns, greens, earthy tones, something there where you would kind of camouflage and blend in. And I thought, no, this is a time to wear a bright color. So this is the shade Pharaoh's Crown by Quicksand Cosmetics, and we're going to get into the swatch. Here is the swatch for Pharaoh's Crown, and I do believe that I have tricked Hersa with this one. I don't think that she's going to guess that I picked a glowing blue purple metallic shadow. I think I've totally tricked her for this one, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what she picks for me, but you can see this is a very smooth shadow. It does not have a lot of high intensity sparkle. It does have a very strong shift, and it is pretty metallic. It is a beautiful shadow. And you can see for some of these shades, I am switching lighting, and that's just to kind of pick up how glowy this shadow is. It truly is gorgeous. Next up, we have a single shadow that I would feature if I was going to a ball in Vienna. And I think this one is a bit of a surprise. It's a bit of a sleeper, and it is the shade Transmutation by Copacetic Cosmetics. This is such a pretty and unique shadow, and when you see the swatch, I think you'll know why I selected it to be worn to a ball in Vienna. So here is the swatch for the shade Transmutation, and you can see just how beautiful that like lavender pink base with the golden sparkles. This is just such a beautiful shadow, and I love this shade so much. Here it is just in regular lighting so that you can really pick up the silver shift. It's just so pretty. Next up is a shadow that I want to talk a lot about. This is a shade that we would wear to a carnival day in Rio. I knew I wanted my shiftiest shadow. I knew immediately that I wanted this to be super impactful, super shifty, and super fun. So I picked the shade Puff by Pretties for Your Face. I was stuck between this and Athena's Rose by Quicksand Cosmetics, but I wanted to feature another brand, and when I swatched them side by side, this shade Puff had a stronger shift. So when I show the swatch, I am going to do it in different lighting because I really want to showcase how beautiful and shifty this shadow is. This is the shade Puff by Pretties for Your Face. I do want to say that for a very affordable brand, this shadow is pretty expensive. I believe it's $18. You can get them on sale. They do have wonderful sales. They're a great brand. In this video, I'm looking at it. I can see the shift, the way it looks in this lighting, which is just my plain bathroom lighting, pretty well. It is translating on camera exactly the way I see it in real life, and you can really see how special and beautiful this shadow is. And here it is in low lighting. You can see it has a black base, a lot of intense sparkle. And then going back to my ring lighting, you can kind of see that it's this magenta with a shift, but the best lighting for me to show off shifts and sparkle is really just my plain bathroom lighting. So this is, and I'm sure professional YouTubers can get that effect with studio lighting, with different lighting tricks, but I'm just a girl in her bathroom swatching shadows. Next up, you can see how loved this shadow is. Although I don't have a dip, I have had this for quite a while, and I love this shade. This would be what I would use as the star of the show for a techno night in Berlin. It is truly a beautiful grungy green, and it is by Divina Cosmetics, and it is called Phenomenon. This was a shadow that I knew immediately I was going to select for a techno night in Berlin. It is just so pretty, so grungy, so deep, such a gorgeous olive green. We're back in my regular bathroom lighting so that you can see the olive green to gold shift. It is just such a pretty grungy green eyeshadow. I love this shade so much, and this is absolutely what I would wear to a techno club or a techno bar in Berlin. A day for the cherry blossoms in Kyoto, Japan. And this is the infamous Lucid Lavender. I was stuck between this and Lucid Hollow, but I went with the OG because it is just a beautiful silver, pink, purple, shifty, gorgeous shadow that kind of reminds me of cherry blossoms. I think it's so pretty, and I love this shade. I'm so glad it's in my collection. I've had it in my collection for a while, and let's get to the swatch. And here it is in all its shifty glory. I'm so glad it's picking it up on camera. You can see that it's pink, teal, silver. It even goes a little yellow at a certain point. It is just one of those magical shades that I think can't be redone. I love the Touch of Glam formula. I'm a big fan. And let's go to different lighting. And here it is in low lighting. You just can't see the sparkle. And here it is in my ring lighting. Again, you can see the sparkle a little bit more intensely. You can see how it's got a mirror finish and how it might shift a little. But in my plain bathroom lighting is really my favorite. So this is the shadow that I had the major blooper with. I am not going to flip it around, but this is what I would use for a night in Dubai. And it is the shade Mystic by Shine by SD. It is one of their discontinued Halo Horizons. Luckily, I had a matte placed underneath and I was able to save this shadow. However, it is a discontinued shade. There are other Halo Horizons, which I also feel are quite special. You will see when I swatch this why it is such a finicky shadow, but I'm going to swatch it and we're going to talk about why I would pick this a New Year's Eve night in Dubai. So here we have the swatch of the Halo Horizon in Mystic in my regular bathroom lighting. This shadow is so pretty, and it certainly brings the drama. It's this high metallic finish with these holographic sparkles, which my camera is not picking up very well. I'm gonna flip it to low lighting and see if I can capture. And there we go. There are the holographic sparkles that you can see in low lighting. This shadow tapped over a glitter glue on my lid is, I think, my favorite shadow ever. This is one of my favorite looks. It is such a gorgeous formula, which is now discontinued, is not for everyone. However, I thought it was quite special, and tapped on the lid, it was just a stunning look. So now that you guys have seen my choices and we have talked through some of them and I've swatched them for y'all, now I'm going to make some guesses as to what my sweet Hersa would pick. For a rooftop night in Miami, I really think she would do a fiery red. As a matter of fact, I have seen her on a night out in Miami and she brings the drama. So my guess is a red. I also coincidentally picked a red. I thought about it at the time. I was like, should I pick a red, even though I think she's going to pick a red? And I just decided to because I thought it was fun. Although I do think that she might also pick red for Carnival. But I'm going to go with red for Miami. A ballet show at the Sydney Opera House. Now, Hersa does not do neutrals, although she's been doing a lot more neutrals. But I also think that this would be a very like glam, something a little bit more subdued for Hersa. And I'm going to go with like a taupey, shimmery neutral. A Broadway play in New York, I think she would go dark, a very dark shimmer. So I'm going to go with like a dark black, a dark blue. I could be wrong on this, but I'm going to go with it. A beach day in Bali. That was another one that I was like, I wonder if she would surprise us by picking a satin or something like more subdued, appropriate for like a beach day. I'm going to go with something more subdued. Okay. For a safari in the Serengeti, I'm going to go with a grungy green. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with a grungy green. A ball in Vienna. Also, another like princess moment. Because I haven't said purple yet, I'm going to do purple. A techno night in Berlin. We talked a little bit about this one, so I kind of feel like it's cheating. But something like grungy with some depth for sure. Cherry blossom viewing in Kyoto. I'm going to hope it's pink because I feel like pink would be right. And then New Year's Eve party in Dubai. I'm going to go with hollow. It's going to be something hollow. I don't know it, but it's going to be a holographic. So those are my guesses for Hersa's picks. I can't wait to see what she guesses for mine. I thought this was a really fun concept. So if you hung around and you watched this video, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it so much. I had a lot of fun going over our choices. Hersa and I tend to procrastinate a little. Neither one of us were feeling great. Our goal was to get this out by last week. It just didn't happen. So I'm glad we bumped it a week, and I'm super glad that we got to do this. I can't wait to talk about all of our choices. Hersa and I go live once a month, and we just kind of hang out and chit chat. We have lots to talk about, which is always super exciting. If you want to join us, please hang out with us. It's always a really good time. We just kind of chit chat about makeup. This week, we're going to be talking about our selections and why we picked them. We'll probably be using them in a look. And thanks so much for watching. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Sorry about the change in venue for recording. And I hope you guys have a great day.